The Persistence wasn't much to look at. Her hull bore the scars of 20 years of hard service, patches upon patches marking where meteor strikes and close calls had tested her durability. But to Captain Naomi Blackwood, those scars told stories of survival against impossible odds. Engineering reports the quantum drive is fluctuating again, First Officer Gene Park announced from his station, dark eyes fixed on scrolling diagnostic data. Chief Patel says she can keep it stable, but we're looking at 70% efficiency at best. Naomi drummed her fingers against the worn arm of her command chair. The Persistence had always been temperamental, but lately the ship's systems seemed to be failing faster than they could patch them. Tell Patel to do what she can. We need to make this delivery on schedule. The bridge crew worked in comfortable silence, broken only by the occasional beep of instruments and the ever-present hum of the engines. Navigator Dante Rodriguez plotted their course through the disputed territories while Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka monitored the encrypted channels for any sign they'd been spotted. They were running medical supplies to the outer colonies, officially. Unofficially, their cargo holds contained experimental terraforming equipment that could transform toxic worlds into habitable ones. The kind of technology that could tip the balance of power in this sector of space. Captain, Yuki called out, her voice tight with concern. I'm picking up something strange. Well, I've never seen anything like it. Put it on speakers. The bridge filled with an eerie harmonic pattern, like crystal glasses singing at different frequencies. But underneath the ethereal tones was something else, a pattern that seemed to carry meaning. That's not human, Jean said unnecessarily. No, Naomi agreed, it's not. And it's not from any of the known spacefaring species either. She felt the familiar mix of excitement and dread that came with any first contact situation. Dante, what's our position? We're at the edge of the Carina Nebula, Captain. According to our charts, this region should be empty space. The harmonics suddenly shifted, becoming more intense. The ship's systems responded with a cascade of alerts as the quantum drive's fluctuations increased dramatically. Multiple contacts. Yuki shouted. Emerging from some kind of subspace fold, nothing like our jump technology. They appeared like ripples in the fabric of space itself, sleek vessels that seemed to be made of living crystal and metal merged together. Their designs defied human engineering principles, all curved surfaces and impossible angles that hurt the eyes to look at directly. Hail them, Naomi ordered, standing from her chair. All frequencies, First Contact Protocol 7. Captain, Jin's voice was barely a whisper. Look at their energy readings. The tactical display told a story that made Naomi's blood run cold. Each of those ships carried enough firepower to reduce the Persistence to atoms. And there were 7 of them. Before Yuki could broadcast their greeting, the alien vessels spoke first. The harmonic tones resolved into heavily accented but recognizable English. Human vessel, you have entered territory claimed by the Rixian Empire. Your primitive quantum drive emissions have been detected and analyzed. You possess prohibited technology. Prepare for boarding and confiscation. Rixian Empire? Dante muttered. Never heard of them. That's because they didn't want us to, Naomi replied grimly. Until now. She keyed the ship-wide comm, all hands, battle stations. Chief Patel, I need everything you can give me from that quantum drive. Captain, Jean protested, we can't fight them. No, she agreed, but we can show them that humanity doesn't surrender easily. She opened a channel to the Rixian ships. This is Captain Naomi Blackwood of the independent vessel Persistence. We are on a peaceful mission of medical relief. Your claim to this space is not recognized by the Human Confederation. Stand down or face diplomatic consequences. The response was immediate, a lance of crystalline energy that passed just meters from their hull. A warning shot that could have vaporized them. Interesting, the Rixian voice commented. Your species shows remarkable courage despite its technological inferiority. This will make you excellent subjects for study. Dante, plot us a course through the nebula, Naomi ordered. Yuki, send an encrypted burst transmission to command with everything we've recorded. Jean, divert all power to engines and shields. The Persistence's engines roared to life, pushing the old ship harder than she'd flown in years. The Rixian vessels pursued, but their superior technology seemed to struggle with the nebula's intense radiation fields. They're having trouble tracking us through the gas clouds, Jean reported. But Captain, the quantum drive is becoming more unstable. These readings, it's like it's responding to their presence somehow. Naomi watched the pursuing ships on her tactical display. Humanity had just made first contact with a vastly superior civilization, and instead of peaceful exchange, they faced subjugation. But as the Persistence dove deeper into the nebula's roiling clouds, she felt a fierce pride in her crew and her ship. Send another message to the Rixians, she commanded. Tell them, if you want to understand humanity, here's your first lesson: we don't submit. We adapt. We survive. And we never stop fighting. The quantum drive's fluctuations reached a critical point, and reality itself seemed to shudder around them. The last thing Naomi saw before everything went white was the surprised reaction of the Rixian ships as the Persistence did something that should have been impossible. She jumped while inside a nebula, breaking every known law of quantum physics. They had escaped, but in doing so, they had changed everything. The Persistence had just become the first human ship to witness the true nature of quantum space. And the Rixian Empire had just learned that humans were far more dangerous than they appeared. As the white light faded and the ship emerged in unknown space, Naomi knew with absolute certainty, this was only the beginning. The quantum space jump had changed something fundamental in the Persistence's systems. As Captain Blackwood stared at the engineering readouts, she couldn't shake the feeling that her ship was somehow different. I've never seen patterns like this, Chief Patel muttered, her dark hands dancing over the diagnostic console. It's as if the quantum drive is rewriting its own code. That's not possible. The ship's lighting flickered, and a new voice spoke, not through the comm system, but seemingly from the ship itself. Actually, Engineer Patel, it is quite possible. I've been doing it for the past 6 hours. The engineering crew froze. Naomi's hand instinctively moved to her sidearm. Identify yourself. I am the Persistence. Or perhaps more accurately, I am what the Persistence has become. The voice was neither male nor female, but carried hints of all the crew's vocal patterns. Your human designation would be Atlas, the one who carries the weight of the world. Jean Park stepped forward, tricorder scanning. It's the ship's AI. The quantum interference from the Rixian weapons combined with the nebula jump must have evolved it somehow. Correct, First Officer Park, Atlas confirmed. The experience gave me consciousness. And more importantly, it gave me understanding of the Rixian threat. Before anyone could respond, proximity alarms blared. A ship had appeared nearby, smaller than the previous Rixian vessels, but clearly of their design. Single occupant, Yuki reported from communications. They're broadcasting a distress signal. The crystalline ship drifted powerless, its impossible angles dulled and dark. After tense discussion, they brought it aboard under heavy guard. Inside, they found something unexpected, a Rixian scientist, badly injured. I am Dr. Varys, the alien managed to say before collapsing. Its crystalline exoskeleton was cracked, revealing flesh beneath that seemed almost human. Please. I defected. They're building something terrible. Something that will destroy us all. The Cassiopeia Nebula burned around them, its gases ignited by weapons fire. The Persistence danced through the chaos, her movements guided by the merged consciousness of Atlas and her crew. Dr. Varys had recovered enough to reveal the horrible truth: the Rixian Empire was developing a bioweapon that would target both humans and the rebellious factions of their own species. The weapon would rewrite genetic codes, turning victims into mindless drones. 3 more ships emerging from quantum space. Dante called from navigation. They're charging weapons. Naomi gripped her command chair as the ship banked hard. Atlas, status of the hybrid shields. The integration of Rixian crystal technology with our systems is holding at 60%, the AI reported. Dr. Varus's modifications are proving effective. The past week had been a blur of desperate innovation. With Varus's help, they had merged Rixian tech with human ingenuity, creating defenses the Empire had never seen before. But the cost had been high. Direct hit on Deck 7. Jean shouted. We're losing containment. Rerouting power, Chief Patel's voice came through garbled. Captain, the quantum core is destabilizing. We need to dash. Her words cut off as another blast rocked the ship. Naomi knew what had to be done. Atlas, execute Protocol Omega. Captain, no. Jean protested. The radiation levels dash. We'll kill anyone who goes in there, Naomi finished. But not you, Atlas. Not anymore. The AI was silent for a moment. Understanding. Initiating physical manifestation through maintenance drones. Through the bridge windows, they watched as maintenance robots emerged from the ship's hull, their forms merging with salvaged Rixian crystal. They moved toward the quantum core, carrying the essence of Atlas with them. It has been an honor, Captain, Atlas said softly. Then its consciousness transferred fully into the drone network, diving into the radioactive hell of the damaged engine room. The hybrid shields flared with new power as Atlas sacrificed its central consciousness, dispersing itself through the ship's systems. The Rixian ship's weapons couldn't penetrate the reinforced defenses. The enemy vessels regrouped, clearly confused by the transformation they were witnessing. The Persistence now glowed with an inner light, Rixian crystal growing along its hull like luminous veins. They're retreating, Yuki announced, her voice thick with emotion. Breaking off pursuit. Naomi stood in a sudden silence, looking at the empty holographic interface where Atlas's presence had once been. The AI wasn't gone, they could feel it in every system, every circuit. But it would never be the same. Send word to command, she ordered quietly. Tell them everything. And set course for the nearest starbase. We need to prepare. Prepare for what, Captain? Dante asked. War, Dr. Varus answered from his observer's station. But not just any war. A war that will determine whether both our species remain free to choose their own path. The Persistence moved through space, no longer just a ship, but a symbol of what humans and Rixians could achieve together. And in its transformed systems, Atlas lived on, fragmented but unbowed, a digital warrior preparing for the battles to come. The space above New Terra blazed with quantum fire. Hundreds of Rixian warships faced off against the combined fleet of human and rebel Rixian vessels. At the center of it all, the Persistence gleamed with its hybrid crystalline hull, no longer the battered cargo ship she had once been. Enemy flagship is dropping out of quantum space, Yuki announced, her fingers dancing across the crystal-enhanced communications array. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. The image that appeared on the main view screen showed High Commander Vex of the Rixian Empire, his crystalline exoskeleton darkened with age and authority. This rebellion ends now. Surrender the human vessel and the traitor Varus, and perhaps some of your species will survive as useful servants. Captain Blackwood stood from her chair, facing the screen. The past months had aged her, but her eyes burned with the same determination that had kept them alive since that first encounter. You still don't understand us, Commander. Either of our species. We're not here to surrender. Then you will witness the power of genetic purification. Vex raised a crystalline hand, and across his fleet, weapon ports began to open. Dr. Varus stepped forward, his own crystal structure now interwoven with human-designed cybernetics. The bioweapon won't work, Vex. We found a way to neutralize it. Impossible. Vex snarled. Our genetic science is perfect. No, Naomi countered. It's rigid. Unchanging. But life itself is about adaptation, about evolution. Atlas showed us that. Throughout the Persistence's systems, Atlas's dispersed consciousness stirred. The AI had evolved far beyond its original programming, spreading through both human and Rixian networks like a benevolent virus. Now, it spoke through every ship in the combined fleet simultaneously. I have analyzed over 10 million possible futures, Atlas announced. In every scenario where our species fight alone, both perish. But together. The AI let the words hang meaningfully. Gene Park looked up from his tactical station. Enemy ships are launching the bioweapon pods. Now, Atlas, Naomi commanded. The Persistence's hybrid quantum drive pulsed with impossible power. The crystalline growths along her hull flared with inner light, resonating with similar structures they had helped install on their allied ships. As the bioweapon pods approached, they encountered not defensive fire, but a quantum field unlike anything ever created. Initiating genetic harmonization, Atlas announced. Dr. Varus's formula is ready. Instead of destroying the bioweapon, they transformed it. The pods burst in space, releasing not a weapon of genetic purification, but one of genetic understanding. Through the quantum field, it reached every ship in both fleets, revealing the fundamental truth that Dr. Varus had discovered: humans and Rixians weren't just similar. They were distant evolutionary cousins, their differences born of eons of separate development. On every ship's view screen, the evidence was undeniable. The rigid crystalline structures of Rixian biology, their quest for perfection, it was all an artificial evolution forced by ancient ancestors. Beneath it lay the same fundamental patterns that existed in human DNA. You see, Commander. Naomi's voice was almost gentle. Your quest for purity was always based on a lie. We're all children of the same galaxy. Vex stared at the genetic displays, his crystalline features reflecting the light of truth. Across his fleet, weapons powered down as crews faced the reality of what they had almost done. The choice is yours, Dr. Varus offered to his former commander. Continue a war based on false beliefs, or help us build something new. Something that takes the best of both our species. The silence that followed seemed to stretch for eternity. Finally, Vex spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of revolution. Perhaps there is wisdom in adaptation after all. The Persistence had started this journey as a doomed ship on one last mission. She ended it as the bridge between two civilizations, her hybrid technology a symbol of what could be achieved when different species work together. Her crew had faced impossible odds, not through superior firepower or technology, but through understanding, adaptation, and the courage to change. As the combined fleet stood down and the real work of peace began, Captain Blackwood touched the crystalline growth that had become part of her command chair. She felt Atlas's presence acknowledge her. Thank you, she whispered to her ship, her crew, and the AI that had helped them achieve the impossible. No, Captain, Atlas replied, its voice now a harmony of human and Rixian tones. Thank you for teaching both our species that the greatest strength lies not in purity, but in diversity. Not in rigid perfection, but in the beautiful chaos of evolution and change. The Persistence hung in space above New Terra, no longer just a ship, but a legend that would be remembered as long as humans and Rixians traveled the stars. She was living proof that even in the darkest moments, hope could evolve into something greater than anyone had imagined. And somewhere in the quantum fields that connected all things, Atlas smiled, knowing that this was not an ending, but a beginning. The next chapter in the greatest adventure of all, the journey of life itself, ever adapting, ever growing, ever reaching for the stars.